She was 11 years old, invisible, and fluent in 3 languages nobody expected her to speak. He was the most dangerous man in the city, and the only thing standing between him and a bullet was a little girl with braids and a borrowed dictionary. The morning smelled like rain and burnt coffee. Ayana Baptiste sat cross-legged on the floor of her grandmother's dry cleaning shop, hidden behind a tower of plastic-wrapped suits, doing what she always did, reading. Not comic books, not cartoons. A worn French dictionary she'd found in a donated box. Its spine cracked, its margins filled with her own handwritten notes. She was 11, small for her age, the kind of child adults talked over and around, never to. Her grandmother Mamie Rose called her l'enfant silencieux, the quiet child. And she was. Quiet. Watchful. Dangerous in ways nobody understood yet. The shop sat on the ground floor of the Kang Tower complex in downtown Seoul's International District. A strange place for a black-owned dry cleaner, but Mamie Rose had gotten the lease 12 years ago, before the tower changed hands, before Junho Kang turned it into the nerve center of his empire. Now they stayed because the rent was frozen in an old contract nobody had bothered to cancel. Ayana pressed her back against the wall, dictionary in her lap, and listened to the city breathe. Upstairs, 32 floors above her, Junho Kang stood at a floor-to-ceiling window, sleeves rolled, jaw tight, staring at nothing. He was 36, built like a man who'd survived things he'd never speak of. His face was handsome in the way that ancient weapons are handsome. Sharp, cold, made for damage. And his empire spanned hotels, logistics, and things the government preferred not to investigate. Today he was signing the biggest deal of his life. He didn't feel good about it. He never ignored that feeling, but this time he told himself the numbers were too perfect to walk away. Downstairs, Ayana turned a page. Neither of them knew their worlds were about to collide. The French started at exactly 11:14 a.m. Ayana heard it through the ventilation shaft. The old building's ductwork ran like a nervous system through every floor, and sound traveled in ways the architects never intended. She discovered this at age 9. It had become her secret education ever since. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but when 2 men switched from Korean to French mid-sentence, her dictionary slid off her lap. Her ears sharpened like an animal sensing danger. Il ne sait pas que les documents sont falsifiés. He doesn't know the documents are forged. Ayana stopped breathing. Et la signature? And the signature? Une fois qu'il signe, tout lui appartient. Les dettes, les crimes, tout. Once he signs, everything belongs to him. The debts, the crimes, everything. Then laughter. Low, satisfied, serpentine. Ayana's hands were trembling. She pressed her palm flat against the floor to steady herself. She was 11 years old, and she had just heard 2 men plan to destroy someone using a pen and paper. She grabbed her dictionary, not because she needed it. She'd understood every word perfectly. She grabbed it because her hands needed something to hold. She knew who occupied this building. Mamie Rose had warned her 100 times. Junho Kang is not a man you approach, Ayana. You look at the floor when he passes. She'd followed that rule faithfully. Until now. She stood up slowly. Her braids were uneven. She'd done them herself that morning. Her sneakers had a hole near the left toe. She was small, poor, and 11 years old. And she was the only person in this entire building who understood what was about to happen upstairs. She moved toward the elevator. Ayana just heard something in French that could bring down an empire. And she's only 11. Do you think she should risk going upstairs to warn a man her grandmother told her to fear? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell. We post stories that will wreck you in the best way possible. The elevator doors were polished steel. Ayana could see herself in them, small, dark-skinned, braids slightly lopsided, clutching a French dictionary like a shield. She looked exactly like what she was. A child who had no business on the 32nd floor. She pressed the button anyway, then unpressed it, then pressed it again. What would she even say? Excuse me, Mr. Dangerous Mafia boss, sir. I heard your business partner speaking French through an air vent, and I think you're about to be framed? She almost laughed, except nothing was funny. The elevator arrived with a soft chime. She didn't get in. A security guard near the lobby entrance was watching her. Not aggressively, just the way adults watched unaccompanied children. Like a problem waiting to be categorized. Ayana walked back toward the dry cleaning shop, her mind screaming. It's not your business. That's what Sent said. He's a dangerous man. That's what Mamie Rose would say. You're 11. That's what the world would say. She sat back down behind the suets, opened her dictionary, stared at a page without reading a single word. Une fois qu'il signe, tout lui appartient. Once he signs, everything belongs to him. The debts, the crimes, everything. She didn't know Junho Kang. She'd seen him twice. Once stepping out of a black car, once in the lobby on a phone call, never smiling. He'd looked through her both times like she was furniture, but she kept hearing the laughter in that voice. That satisfied, serpentine laughter of a man setting a trap. She closed the dictionary. She couldn't let someone walk into a trap, even someone who'd never once looked at her. She stood up again, but this time she didn't stop walking. The 32nd floor receptionist was a tall woman with a sharp bob and sharper eyes. She looked at Ayana the way people look at something that has wandered into the wrong habitat. This floor is private. I need to speak to Mr. Kang. Ayana's voice came out steadier than she felt. Absolutely not. How did you get past security? The stairwell door on 31 was propped open. True. She'd counted every step. The receptionist reached for the phone. I'm calling someone to escort you. Tell him it's about the French documents. Ayana said it quietly, precisely, like placing a chess piece. The receptionist paused. Something shifted behind her eyes. She spoke quietly into the phone. A long pause. Then she looked at Ayana with an entirely different expression. Not warmer, but warier. He'll see you. 30 seconds. Junho was already standing when she entered, arms crossed, face unreadable. Two other men were in the room. She recognized neither, but filed their faces away instantly. A third man stood near the window with a leather document folder. Him. She could feel it. Who are you? Junho's voice was low, controlled, like a river that had learned to hide its current. Ayana, I'm from the dry cleaning shop downstairs. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, confusion, suspicion. Mamie Rose's granddaughter? She blinked. He knew her grandmother's name. Yes? Why are you in my office? Ayana looked directly at him. Then she looked at the man by the window, then back at Junho. Because you're about to sign something that will ruin you. She held up her dictionary. Yeah, and I understood everything they said. The room went absolutely still. Junho studied the child in front of him for a long, silent moment. She didn't look away. Most grown men looked away. He dismissed the others from the room with a single gesture. The man by the window, whose name was Renaud, Belgian, CFO of the investment group, left last, and as he passed Ayana, she felt his eyes drag across her face. Cold. Calculating. She kept her chin up. When the door closed, Junho crouched down to her level. It surprised her. She hadn't expected that. Tell me exactly what you heard. His Korean was slow, deliberate. He'd switched instinctively, then caught himself. Do you speak Korean? Some. French is better. My mother was Haitian. My grandmother taught me. I've been studying alone since I was 8. She paused, and I understood every word they said. Junho was quiet. Then, your mother was? Ayana's jaw tightened slightly. She passed, 2 years ago. Something moved behind his eyes. Not pity, something older than pity. What did they say? He asked softly. She told him, every word. The forged documents, the framing, the debts and crimes that would transfer to his name the moment he signed. She recited it the way she recited dictionary definitions, precise, unflinching. When she finished, Junho stood slowly, walked to the window. I lost someone too, he said. Not to her exactly, more to the glass. My father, to a contract just like this one. Different city, different men, same trap. He turned. I spent 15 years building something so no one could ever do to me what they did to him. Ayana watched him. And today, someone almost did. He looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time. How old are you? 11. He almost smiled. Almost. Junho called his legal team, quietly, without alerting Renault. While he made calls and clipped precise sentences, Ayana sat in the corner of his massive office on a leather chair that swallowed her whole, and tried not to look too amazed by everything. The floor-to-ceiling Seoul skyline, the wall of books, the small framed photo on his desk she couldn't quite make out. He caught her looking at the photo. He didn't move it. That surprised her too. When he finished the calls, he brought her a glass of water and sat across from her. Not behind his desk, in the chair beside it, like an equal. Your grandmother, he said, has been here since before I owned this building. Did you know I tried to buy her out 3 times? She told me. Ayana sipped the water. She also told me you personally made sure her lease stayed frozen when the other tenants were pushed out. Junho said nothing. She thinks you did it because you felt guilty, Ayana said carefully. But I think you did it because you actually respected her. He looked at her with an expression she couldn't name, like someone hearing a truth they'd told themselves in secret. You're very strange for an 11-year-old. You're very quiet for a mafia boss. This time he actually smiled, small, brief, like a light switched on and immediately reconsidered. Who taught you that word? Mamie Rose. She says it like a warning. I looked it up anyway. He leaned back. The tension in his shoulders had dropped, barely, but she noticed. Outside, Seoul hummed 32 floors below. Inside, something fragile and unexpected had taken one small, tentative breath. Junho just smiled. And if you know this man's story, you know how rare that is. Do you think Ayana reminds him of someone he lost? Tell us in the comments what you think his real secret is. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. This story is only getting deeper. It unraveled at 2:47 p.m. Renault hadn't left the building. He'd gone to the 28th floor meeting room and made his own calls. Junho's legal team, intercepting internal communications as part of the lockdown, flagged it immediately. Renault knew someone had talked, and the building's CCTV had captured Ayana entering the 32nd floor stairwell. Junho's security chief, a man named Tae, brought him the footage without a word. Junho watched it. Then he looked at Ayana, still sitting in his office, now doing something astonishing, correcting what appeared to be her own handwritten French grammar exercises in the margins of her dictionary. You need to go downstairs. His voice had changed. Walls back up, river hidden again. Ayana looked up. She read his face immediately. What happened? They know it was you who warned me. That makes you visible. Visible means dangerous. She closed the dictionary. I understand. I don't think you do. He crouched again. This time his eyes were different, urgent, almost pained. These aren't men who forget faces, even small ones. So what are you saying? I'm saying I need to move your grandmother tonight. Both of you, temporarily until this is handled. Ayana stood up slowly. Something hardened in her small face. You want to move us? Like we're a problem you're managing. I want to keep you safe. You want to keep your situation clean. Her voice didn't rise. It dropped. Worse. We warned you. We didn't sign up for your war. Junho stood. Ayana. Don't. She picked up her dictionary. We've survived without your protection for 2 years. We'll be fine. She walked out. He'd let her, and hated himself for it the moment the door closed. Mamie Rose listened without interrupting. That alone told Ayana how serious it was. Her grandmother never stayed silent through a story. but she sat at the pressing table with her hands folded and her eyes closed, and she didn't say a word until Ayana finished. Then she said, "We pack a bag." "Mamie." "No." Firm, final. "You were brave today, my love. Extraordinarily brave. But bravery doesn't make bullets change direction." She stood, joints creaking. "We pack. We call your auntie, and in Chun, we go tonight." Ayana sat down on an overturned laundry bin. Her chest hurt in a way she didn't have words for yet. She kept thinking about the photo on Junho's desk. She'd finally seen it clearly before she left. A woman and a young girl, maybe 3 years old. The woman was laughing. Junho was in the background, younger, softer, barely recognizable, watching them like they were the only real things in the world. She didn't know who they were, but she understood the way he'd looked in that photo. She recognized it. It was the same way she looked in the last photo of her mother. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. "It's Junho." She stepped outside the shop. The evening air was cool and sharp. I handled it wrong," he said. "No preamble, no armor. I made you feel like a liability. You weren't. You're the reason I still have everything I built. I'm sorry." Ayana leaned against the wall, said nothing. "I'd like to speak with your grandmother, not to manage anything. To ask, properly, if I can help keep you both safe. As a neighbor, not a boss." A long silence. "She makes coffee at 6 a.m., Ayana said finally. "Don't be late, she hates late." She heard something on the other end. Soft, exhaled. It sounded like relief. Junho arrived at 5:58 a.m. Mamie Rose noticed. She didn't say anything, but Ayana caught the small, approving nod as she poured the coffee. Renaud and his partners had been detained by morning. Junho's legal team had spent the night unraveling the forged documents, and by dawn, the 3 arrest warrants had been issued across 2 countries. The trap had been dismantled. The empire was intact. But that wasn't why he'd come. He sat at Mamie Rose's small table, like this enormous, powerful, guarded man, folded into a plastic chair in a dry cleaning shop, and he held his coffee cup with both hands like it was something precious. "I owe your granddaughter more than I can calculate," he told Mamie Rose. "She doesn't need calculating," Mamie Rose said simply. "She needs a library card and someone to argue with about books." Junho looked at Ayana across the table. "I have a library," he said. 32nd floor. It's mostly unread." Ayana raised an eyebrow. "That's criminal." "I've been told." Mamie Rose watched them with quiet, ancient eyes that understood things neither of them had language for yet. Over the following months, it became a quiet ritual. Saturday mornings, the library on 32. Ayana would read and annotate. Junho would work and occasionally ask her what she was reading. She'd explain without dumbing it down. He appreciated that. He funded a full scholarship, not as payment, but because Mamie Rose had asked him, over that first coffee, what a man with his resources owed the world. "Futures," she'd said. "You owe it futures." Years later, when Ayana stood at a podium accepting a linguistics award, fluent in 7 languages, cited for work in international conflict mediation, she would mention a dry cleaning shop, a French dictionary, and a man who crouched down to her level when he didn't have to. In the front row, Junho Kong sat beside Mamie Rose. He was smiling, not small, not brief, fully. Ayana went from an invisible girl in a dry cleaning shop to changing the life of the most powerful man in the building, just by paying attention and being brave enough to act. Which moment hit you hardest? When she walked into his office, when she walked out, or when he showed up at 5:58 a.m.? Tell us in the comments. And if this story moved you, subscribe and share it. Because someone out there needs to be reminded today that the quietest people in the room are often carrying the most powerful truths.